Discovering God's plan, the miraculous fall of Miriam, the transforming lesson of divine justice. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, the Israelites wandered restlessly in the arid wilderness, seeking the promised land that lay ahead, and among them was Miriam, the sister of Moses and Aaron. Celebrated and revered, she was a leader, a prophetess, and a musician whose voice had stirred the hearts of many. Yet, in the sun-drenched expanse of dry earth, her heart wrestled with shadowy feelings of jealousy and doubt as she contemplated her brother Moses' choice to marry a Cushite woman. Her soul became a battleground, torn between admiration for her brother's leadership and a growing discord within her spirit. As Miriam gathered her brother Aaron beneath the swaying palms, she voiced her concerns, her voice trembling with unspoken accusation. Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Hasn't he also spoken through us? Her words resonated, sending ripples of discontent through the hearts of the Israelites. They stood in the dusty camp, their faith straining against her challenge, weary under the weight of their leader's perceived error. The hope of the promised land began to dim as murmurs filled the air, questions of authority, legitimacy, and divine favor. But suddenly, the desert sky darkened, and the palpable tension thickened like a brewing storm. Without warning, the cloud of the Lord descended, summoning Miriam and Aaron before him. Awestruck and trembling, the community held their breath. The voice emanating from the cloud was both fearsome and tender. Hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, make myself known to him in a vision, I speak to him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moses, he is faithful in all my house. The people shuddered, feeling the weight of God's judgment hanging in the air. With sacred authority, he declared Miriam's rebellion. At the very moment, her skin began to turn white, pale and ravaged by leprosy. Gasps echoed through the gathering. The very sister who had once led them in joyous song was now a testament to pride laid bare. Isolation enveloped her as she was cast out from the camp, her heart heavy with regret and realization that in the silence that followed, at the fringes of despair, Moses stood, a brother torn by sorrow. He fervently cried out to God, "O God, heal her, I pray." His intercession echoed through the heavens, revealing a bond that transcended disappointment and disillusionment. The hearts of the people quivered with the hope of God's mercy, unsure of the outcome of this divine confrontation. Days blended into a haunting silence. Miriam sat outside the camp bereft and solitary. The sun rose and set, marking each moment with the bitterness of her isolation. As she wrestled with the consequences of her pride, questions swirled within her. Would the God who speaks to prophets also grant her restoration? Could healing come where rebellion once thrived? With the dawning of the 7th day, a breath of anticipation mingled with the desert air, infusing the camp with a renewed fervor. The people held their breath, caught in the throes of divine tension. What would befall Miriam? What lessons lay hidden within God's justice and mercy? As they waited, a divine mystery awaited resolution, echoing through the sands, urging all to grasp the unfolding of his holy plan. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As the camp held its breath and Miriam's heart quaked with uncertainty, the stillness of the sky conveyed a divine promise yet to be realized. Would the Lord extend his hand of mercy, allowing her to return to her people? The journey toward healing loomed large against the backdrop of faith, and amidst their silent prayers, hope flickered within the hearts of the Israelites, waiting for their God to act. As the sun climbed higher in the blistering sky, the 7th day unfolded like a sacred promise, shrouded in the murmurs of the people. Despair flickered in their hearts, yet a glimmer of hope ignited at the thought of Miriam's potential restoration. It was then that the cloud of the Lord began to stir once more. The same divine presence that had lingered before now moved among the people, drawing their eyes skyward in yearning anticipation. Suddenly, from the depths of the cloud, the voice of God resonated, sharp and clear, like the sound of thunder cut by a gentle breeze. "Moses, "Go to Miriam. Speak to her in my name," declared the Lord, his words enveloping Moses with both dread and resolve. With a heart laden with love and sorrow, Moses hurried to the camp's edge, where Miriam sat in her shame, isolated and shunned, her spirit dulled by her afflictions. "Miriam," he called, his voice a balm for her wounded soul, filled with the purest of brotherly love. "The Lord has spoken. His mercy flows like a river that shall wash away your pain." Miriam's heart quickened as she turned to face the shadowed figure of her brother, her eyes brimming with both fear and fervent hope. "Will he truly heal me?" she whispered, the remnants of her pride stripped away, leaving behind only the rawness of her need. "Indeed, the Lord has declared it," Moses replied, reaching within the depths of his spirit as he spoke with faith. "He has not forsaken the one he once called a prophetess, but you must humble yourself and seek him with a new heart." As these words lingered around her, the weight of her rebellion began to lift, revealing a path of repentance she had long resisted. The sun's rays broke upon her, illuminating her face, reflecting the light of God's grace. Tears streamed down her cheeks, heralding the softening of her heart. She knew this was the moment of her reckoning. At the command of the Lord, Moses laid his hands upon his sister's head, praying fervently, "O Lord, let your healing touch descend upon her. Restore her as she desires to walk in your ways." The air quivered with divine attentiveness, and for a brief, sacred moment, the entire camp held its breath. Then, as if the very essence of life surged through the dry bones, the leprosy that had ravaged her faded away like mist before the rising sun. Her skin returned to its natural hue, radiant and full of renewed vitality. The proof of God's mercy was revealed before the astonished eyes of the Israelites. The camp erupted in awe, as joy replaced despair. The songs of Miriam's past now echoed in a fresh harmony of praise. Reunited with her people, Miriam stepped forward, her heart brimming with gratitude. She raised her voice, singing a new song unto the Lord, a song not only of deliverance but of humility forged in the fires of trial. The Israelites joined her, their voices rising in unison, proclaiming the goodness of God who forgives and restores. Yet as they jubilantly celebrated, an ember of doubt lingered in Miriam's heart. "What does the Lord require of me, now that I have been shown such grace?" she pondered, knowing well that divine favor demands a heart that stays humbled and true, but little did she know, the Lord had greater plans for her and the people of Israel. They would soon face trials anew, as whispers of opposition stirred in the lands beyond their journey. Yet God's sovereign hand was already at work, weaving the fabric of his destiny through the very trials they would confront. The faithfulness of the Lord could not be contained, for Miriam's story was but a chapter in a grander narrative yet to unfold. What awaited the Israelites in their pursuit of the Promised Land? How would their future trials reveal the depths of God's providence? The Lord had a plan that would far exceed their comprehension, drawing them closer to his heart, preparing them for the land flowing with milk and honey, where prophecy and promise would converge in the fullness of time. And so it came to pass that the eyes of Miriam, bright with gratitude, were lifted toward heaven as she sang, her voice intertwining with the praise of her brethren. The song of her deliverance echoed within the hearts of the assembled, a melody woven with the threads of faith and hope. Yet in the stillness that followed their joyous outburst, a hush fell over the camp, as those who had witnessed Miriam's healing were confronted by an unsettling reality: the trials yet to come. Days passed as the Israelites made their way through the wilderness, their feet pressed against the arid ground, while their hearts remained vigilant for the next word from the Lord. Yet whispers of discontent began to stir among them. The allure of the flesh was strong in the heat of the day, and some began to question the wisdom of their journey. "Why have we forsaken the comforts of Egypt?" they murmured, their voices tinged with impatience. It was at this time that the Spirit of the Lord spoke again to Moses. "Gather the leaders of your people," he instructed, "and remind them of my covenant, for my purpose will not falter even amidst murmurs of doubt." Obediently, Moses summoned the elders of Israel, urging them to remember the great wonders the Lord had wrought before their eyes, how he had brought them out from the house of bondage, and how his hand had delivered them through plagues and parted seas. "Moses," they said, their voices trembling, "the burdens of this journey weigh heavy upon us, and our provisions run low. Are we to perish in this desolate place? Moses, then filled with the Spirit of the Lord, raised his hands and spoke with divine authority. You shall not perish. For the Lord has not abandoned his people. He shall provide, as he always has. Trust in him, for those who lean on their own understanding shall find trouble, but those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Before the elders could respond, the presence of the Lord descended upon the tent of meeting, a cloud of glory enveloping it. Listen, the Lord commanded, his voice a thunderous blend of love and authority. Go forth, and teach my people the laws I have given you. For in obedience lies their life, and in straying returns their destruction. As Moses lingered in the presence of the Lord, he was given instructions for what was to come. You will face opposition, and enemies shall arise against thee as a snare, yet fear not. I have raised up a leader from among your people. The hearts of the elders received this word with both awe and trepidation. They looked to one another, questions forming in the depths of their souls. Who is this leader? They wondered. And as if the Lord had read their hearts, he continued, in days to come, you will see the rise of one who will guide you, one who will intercede on behalf of the people and exhibit the purpose of justice. Miriam, hearing this declaration, felt a prickle of prophetic insight. In her spirit, she sensed the urgency of God's plans unfurling a tapestry of justice, mercy, and deliverance, interlinked through the fabric of their journey. Yet what would this leader accomplish? And how would the trials of the wilderness sharpen the faith of the people, preparing them for the promises of their forefathers? The journey was set to take them deeper into the wilderness, and soon they would arrive at a crossroad where choices would be tested, hearts revealed, and faith forged anew. The whispers of strife in the land beyond beckoned like shadows, a foreshadowing of the greater battles that lay ahead. In that divine moment it was evident, God's sovereign plan was not merely for the restoration of Miriam but for the whole nation, a call to rise against despair, revealing a heart transformed by his justice. For in the pursuit of the promised land, hidden treasures of faith, wisdom, and strength were set to unfold, igniting the ever-expanding panorama of his eternal purpose. How then, would the Israelites respond to the trials before them? What lessons of faith awaited them in the wilderness? The fullness of God's plan loomed ever nearer, for the grand narrative of redemption was only beginning to be written. As the Israelites journeyed on, led by the faithful hand of Moses, the air grew thick with anticipation and uncertainty. Each day in the wilderness revealed new challenges that sought to test the mettle of their faith. The hunger pangs gnawed at their stomachs, and soon the murmurs grew louder, echoing through the encampments like a rising tide. Would that we had died in Egypt, some lamented, where we sat by the meat pots and ate our fill of bread. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Exodus 16 verse 3. Their words dripped with bitterness, and the heart of Moses was weighed down by their despair. In that moment of sorrow, the Lord spoke to Moses again, his voice as gentle as a mother but as firm as a king. Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may test them whether they will walk in my law or not. Exodus 16 verse 4. Moses relayed this promise to the people, proclaiming, At evening you shall know that it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, and in the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Exodus 16 verses 6-7. Hope began to flicker in the hearts of some, while others remained ensnared by their doubt. As evening descended, a miraculous sight unfurled as a soft dew settled upon the ground. When the dew lifted, behold, there lay upon the wilderness a fine, flake-like thing, as plentiful as the stars above, a bread-like substance that sparkled in the moonlight. The people looked upon it in awe, asking one another, What is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, It is the bread that the Lord has given you to eat. Exodus 16 verse 15. With joy, they gathered this heavenly provision, and for the first time in days, laughter and gratitude began to weave through the camp. In their glorious abundance, they realized the faithfulness of their God, who provided not only for their bodies but sought to sustain their spirits and renew their covenant. But in the midst of this provision, a warning arose. Moses instructed the people, Let no one leave any of it over till the morning. Exodus 16 verse 19. Yet some, in their disbelief, kept part of it until morning. And behold, it bred worms and stank, they could not partake of what was intended as sustenance for their souls. Thus the lesson was engraved in their hearts. Trust in the Lord had fruit, their fears would yield only decay. As the days passed, the cycles of gathering and reliance on the Lord deepened their understanding of His ways and the necessity of faithfulness. Each morning testified to their need for daily grace, each evening reinvented remembrance of His mighty hand, and they learned that provision was tied to obedience. In this divine orchestration, a much greater lesson loomed. This was more than just sustenance, more than mere bread. For God was crafting within them a spirit of dependence and a covenant heart. And through this trial and triumph, they began to apprehend a nuanced truth: what they consumed sustained not only their bodies but also fashioned them as a people destined for His promise. And as they moved closer to the heart of the wilderness, waiting in earnest for God's perfect plan to unfold, a deeper mystery lingered in the air. What would they discover beyond their immediate needs? What future lay ahead, and how would their obedience influence the course of their journey? The whisper of destiny lingered, for in their trials, God was preparing a people who would carry forth His legacy, a testimony of faith that would echo through generations. Thus, the question remained resolute: would they choose to trust in the One who had freed them, or would they allow fear to overshadow the hope of His promise? The unfolding of God's sovereign grace had only just begun. And it came to pass, as the morning sun broke over the horizon, illuminating the camp of Israel, that the people awoke filled with expectation. The daily manna lay upon the ground, shimmering like dew from heaven. They gathered it according to their needs, morning by morning, and their bellies filled with the sustenance bestowed upon them by the hand of the Lord. Yet, amidst their rejoicing, a whisper of discontent lingered still. Among them was Miriam, the sister of Moses, a woman of strength and spirit. Yet her heart began to wrestle with those unspoken fears, echoing the doubts of the people. "Is the bread sufficient?" she murmured to herself. "Or is there more to our calling than mere survival?" One day, as they were encamped, Miriam gathered with Aaron, her brother and the high priest, and they spoke of the burdens of leadership and the challenges of the desert. "Has the Lord indeed spoken only through Moses?" Miriam questioned, her voice carrying the weight of her concern. "Has He not spoken through us also?" Numbers 12:2, their murmuring against Moses reached the ears of the One who reigns in heaven. The cloud that covered the tabernacle shifted, and the glory of the Lord descended as a great trembling swept through the camp. The voice of the Lord commanded, "Miriam and Aaron, come forth." Numbers 12:4. And they stood before Him, fear gripping their hearts. The Lord spoke to them, declaring, "Hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, make myself known to him in a vision, I speak to him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moses, he is faithful in all my house. I speak with him face to face, even plainly, and not in dark sayings, and he sees the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?" Numbers 12:6-8. At that moment, the cloud lifted, and behold, Miriam's face became as one smitten. A leprous condition enveloped her, white as snow. The people gasped as fear swept through the camp. Aaron cried out, "O my Lord, please do not lay this sin upon us, for we have been foolish." Numbers 12:11. Moses, filled with compassion, fell on his face and sought the Lord, saying, "Please heal her, O God, I beseech you." Numbers 12:13. The Lord's voice returned, instructing Moses to isolate Miriam outside the camp for 7 days. Then she may be received again, he decreed, Numbers 12:14. And so it was, Miriam was sent away from the camp, and the people did not journey until she was brought back to them. In those 7 days, as the sun rose and set, the lesson of obedience was imprinted on their hearts. The Lord was teaching them the gravity of His calling, how they were to honor those appointed over them, recognizing the authority given by His sovereign hand. When her leprosy was healed and she returned to the camp, the people rejoiced, and they moved forward. Yet Miriam carried within her a profound lesson of humility and reverence for the ways of the Lord. Her trust in His provision and His appointed leader was now remolded by this divine encounter. The children of Israel were fools to imagine they could speak against God's anointed, for the weight of His authority is heavy and always matures through great trials. And thus they journeyed on, strengthened in faith and dependence, but also painfully aware of their need to uphold the unity and honor God desired among his people. As they continued towards the promised land, an unspoken question circled among them: what other trials would come forth from the Lord to prepare them for the destiny he had established? Their hearts, once burdened with doubt, now throbbed with anticipation. For they were learning, through grace and justice, that God's plans extend far beyond their understanding. What further lessons of divine might and love awaited them before they set foot in their promised inheritance? The unfolding of God's sovereign grace had yet another layer to reveal. And it came to pass after the 7 days of Miriam's isolation, she was restored to the camp, and the people rejoiced, lifting their voices in praise unto the Lord for his mercy. Yet, amidst their celebration, the heart of Moses remained troubled as he reflected on the gravity of what had transpired. The lesson of humility and obedience weighed heavily upon him, for he understood that the path to the promised land would be fraught with further trials. As the children of Israel journeyed from Hazeroth, they moved toward the wilderness of Paran. The sun cast long shadows upon the arid land, and the heat bore down upon them, yet their faith in Yahweh stirred within their souls like an unquenchable flame. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Send men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. One from each tribe of their fathers shall you send, every one a leader among them. Numbers 13:2. Moses, heeding the command of God, called forth leaders from each tribe, including Caleb from the tribe of Judah and Joshua, the son of Nun, from the tribe of Ephraim. He gathered them on the edge of the land that God had promised, issuing instructions and sending them forth to scout the land which flowed with milk and honey. For 40 days you shall journey through the land, he declared, and return to bring back reports of its fruit and the strength of its inhabitants. Thus, the leaders departed, their hearts filled with anticipation, yet unknowingly carrying with them the seeds of fear that could fester among the people. Throughout their exploration, they beheld clusters of grapes so large that 2 men bore them on a pole, along with figs and pomegranates that spoke of the richness of the land. Numbers 13:23. Yet, as they journeyed, they came upon the fortified cities and giants known as the sons of Anak, and fear began to seep into their hearts. Upon their return to Moses and the whole congregation, they presented the fruits of the land, a tangible testament to God's promise. Yet, among their reports, fear burst forth like a tempest. We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. Numbers 13:31. The people listened and cried out in despair, their faith wavering as doubt crept in. Caleb, silencing the voices of fear, implored the people, Let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it. Numbers 13:30. But the majority of the spies, their hearts hardened, echoed back, The land through which we have gone is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people we saw in it are men of great stature. Numbers 13:32. Their thoughts spiraled into darkness. The people began to weep, their trust in God eclipsed by fear. Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before the congregation, filled with anguish as they recognized the grave consequence of disbelief. Joshua and Caleb rent their clothes and declared, The land we passed through to explore is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delights in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Numbers 14:6-8. But the people, overcome by fear and despair, spoke of stone and rebellion against Moses and Aaron, considering choosing a leader to return to Egypt. The air thickened with tension as God's heart ached for his people, longing for their unwavering faith, and there, amidst the turmoil, the Lord's voice boomed in chastisement. How long will these people reject me? How long will they not believe in me, with all the signs that I have performed among them? Numbers 14:11. The time of reckoning was approaching, and the Israelites stood at a crossroads, unaware of the profound consequences their disbelief would cast upon their journey. As the people wept and raged against their leaders, unbeknownst to them, they were teetering on the precipice of a divine judgment that would echo throughout generations. The promise was still theirs, but only through faith and obedience would they see the fulfillment of God's sovereign plan. What trials awaited them as they navigated? Their own disbelief. For the story of Israel was far from over, and God's faithfulness would be tested in ways none could yet envision. But as the sorrowful cries of the people echoed through the camp, the presence of the Lord descended like a fog upon the tent of meeting. Moses could feel the weight of divine anger yet again. He fell to his face, pleading for mercy on behalf of the Israelites. "O Lord," he interceded, "you are slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness, forgiving iniquity and transgression. Pardon the iniquity of this people, I pray, according to the greatness of your steadfast love." Numbers 14:18. In that moment, the Lord's eyes were fixed on Moses, who stood as a mediator for his people. The Lord replied, "I have pardoned them according to your word, but truly, as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. Because all those men who have seen my glory and the signs which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have put me to the test now these 10 times, and have not heeded my voice, surely they shall not see the land of which I swore to their fathers, nor shall any of those who rejected me see it." Numbers 14:20-23. A heavy silence fell over the congregation, understanding now the depth of their transgression. Yet, the Lord's heart was still inclined towards those who had remained faithful. "But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit in him and has followed me fully, I will bring into the land where he went, and his descendants shall inherit it." Numbers 14:24. Hope flickered in the hearts of Caleb and Joshua, who remained steadfast in their faith. They had seen the majestic wonders of the Lord, and they recalled the bountiful promises. Moses, emboldened by the Lord's assurance, gathered the people once more and delivered the somber yet hopeful word. "We have received judgment for our disbelief, yet God's mercy provides a path for those who remain faithful. Fear not, for he will still see us through." Nevertheless, the people were weighed down by consequence. God's decree fell hard upon their souls, and a dark cloud of despondency enveloped them. It was proclaimed that their journey would stretch on, 40 years in the wilderness until that generation fell. The heart of Moses was torn as he looked upon the faces of those who must now bear this punishment, a punishment not just on their souls but upon their children, who would inherit a land they would not see. As the news settled within the people, some of the spies grew bold and sought to correct their course. "We have sinned. We will go up and fight for the land." They cried, but it was too late, the time for their action had passed. "Do not go up, lest you be defeated," warned Moses, knowing the Lord's Spirit was no longer with them. Numbers 14:41. But in their stubbornness, they disregarded the prophetic words. They ascended the mountain, and the Amalekites and Canaanites descended upon them, driving them back like chaff before the wind. Thus, the story of rebellion echoed in the winds of the wilderness. Yet, within that desert of despair was the whisper of hope, for the Lord was not finished with his people. He was preparing a new generation, a generation that would one day stand ready to embrace the fulfillment of his promise. And so, amidst their trials, the throng awaited signs of divine intervention. For what awaited them on the horizon was part of a divine tapestry, woven with threads of redemption and purpose. Little did they know that God's sovereign plan was beckoning, awaiting the faithful who would rise to claim what was rightfully theirs. What wonders would unfold in the faith of the next generation? For the path ahead, though shrouded in trials, bore the promise of salvation, and the heart of the Almighty was still beating for his people. And it came to pass, as the days turned into years, the wilderness stretched vast and desolate before the people of Israel. Each step taken upon the sandy soil was a reminder of their past rebellion, an echo of their distrust. But in the midst of their wandering, a new faith began to stir. The children of the Israelites grew, their hearts untainted by the failures of their parents, ready to embrace the future that awaited them. Yet, trouble arose within the camp. Miriam, the sister of Moses, began to speak against her brother. "Has the Lord indeed spoken only through Moses?" she questioned, her voice rising in discontent. "Has he not spoken through us as well?" Her words found fertile ground among some, as they whispered doubts and questioned the authority of Moses. The Lord heard their murmurs, and in an instant, his anger was kindled. "Moses, Miriam, and Aaron, come forth to the tent of meeting," he commanded. The weight of the Lord's presence fell heavy upon them as they stood trembling before the Almighty. As they gathered, the Lord spoke. "Hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, make myself known to him in visions, I speak to him in dreams. But not so with my servant Moses, he is faithful in all my house. I speak with him face to face, even plainly, and not in dark sayings, and he sees the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Numbers 12:6-8. A deep silence enveloped the gathering, trembling as the Lord's accusation pierced their hearts. Miriam's boldness crumbled beneath the weight of divine justice, and leprosy broke forth upon her skin. An unclean mark manifested in the Lord's judgment, a symbol of her rebellion against his chosen leader, Aaron, seeing the affliction of his sister, turned to Moses in despair. "O my Lord," he cried, "please do not lay this sin on us, in which we have done foolishly and in which we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, whose flesh is half consumed when he comes out of his mother's womb." Numbers 12-11-12. In that moment of desperation, Moses interceded once more for Miriam. "O God, I beseech you, heal her now, O God, I pray." Numbers 12:13. The heart of Moses genuinely cried for mercy, reflecting the endless depths of his love for his people. And the Lord heard Moses' plea. If her father had but spit in her face, would she not be shamed 7 days? Let her be shut out of the camp 7 days, and afterward she may be received again. Numbers 12:14. So Miriam was cast out from among the people, and for 7 days she dwelt outside the camp, separated from the community she had once led. Yet, in those days of solitude, a lesson unfolded amongst the hearts of the congregation, one of humility, repentance, and grace. The people of Israel waited patiently, reflecting on the purposes of the Almighty and acknowledging His sovereignty over their lives. They witnessed firsthand how the great I Am dealt with rebellion and how mercy sought out the fallen. The camp, too, learned from Miriam's plight. They began to prepare their hearts for the journey ahead, recognizing that the path forward required unity and submission to the divine authority established among them. In due time, Miriam was restored, but the lesson remained fresh in the hearts of the people. Little did they know that ahead lay another challenge that would reveal the depths of their faith. For God was orchestrating a symphony of trials, and soon His plan would unveil an unexpected resolution. As the cloud of the Lord moved, the people stirred in anticipation. What awaited them was neither clear nor certain, yet they sought the Lord with renewed vigor. The promise of a land flowing with milk and honey loomed like a shining beacon on the horizon. And amongst them were whispers of the profound mystery yet to unfold, a land not just to be claimed but a covenant yet to be fulfilled. What would God's purpose reveal in the days to come? And it came to pass, after the 7 days had elapsed, that Miriam was received back into the camp, and with her return, a semblance of jubilation washed over the people. But deeper still was the solemnity of the lessons learned etched upon their hearts. The Lord had demonstrated His authority, and the unity among the Israelites was like a fragile thread, waiting to be tested. As they journeyed forth, the Lord spoke again to Moses in a cloud of glory. "Send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. From each tribe of their fathers you shall send a man, every one a leader among them." Numbers 13:2. Moses obeyed the command of the Lord and chose one from each tribe, including Caleb of the tribe of Judah and Joshua, son of Nun from Ephraim. The spies departed, traversing the land, marveling at its beauty, and they returned after 40 days bearing fruits, clusters of grapes, figs, and pomegranates that hung like symbols of promise. The hearts of the people were filled with hope as the spies gathered the assembly. "Indeed, the land flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit," Caleb proclaimed with a bold spirit unto the people. Yet, his words were soon met with hesitation from the other spies, who gripped their hearts not with faith, but with fear. "But the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large," they retorted, their voices laced with trepidation. "We saw the giants there, the descendants of Anak came from the giants. And we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight." Numbers 13:28-33. A spirit of despair gripped the camp as doubt seeped into the hearts of the congregation. Murmurs of rebellion began to rise again, casting shadows over their trust in God's leadership. The people wept and wailed in the night, as fears of a great struggle loomed over them like an oppressive cloud. Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation, imploring the people to look up. The land we pass through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delights in us, then he will bring us into the land and give it to us. Numbers 14:7-8. Their voices carried the weight of divine assurance, a plea for faith in the face of despair, yet the people's hearts were hardened, and they spoke of selecting a leader to return to Egypt. Caleb and Joshua tore their clothes in grief at the people's unwillingness to trust the Lord. "Do not rebel against the Lord," they cried. "For they are our bread, their protection has departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Do not fear them." Numbers 14-9, but their cries fell upon deaf ears, as the assembly gathered stones to kill them for their unwavering declaration of faith. In that moment, the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "How long will these people reject me? And how long will they not believe me, with all the signs which I have performed among them?" Numbers 14:11, the weight of divine indignation surged forth as the Lord's judgment was pronounced. The faithless generation would not inherit the promise, they would wander in the wilderness 40 years until their carcasses fell, save for Caleb and Joshua. Thus, a new chapter of divine endurance began to unfold. The Israelites would learn through trials, their steps orchestrated by a God who works all things together for good. What they did not understand, however, was that this series of events, the murmurs, the rebellion, the judgment, was not just a punishment but a profound revelation of God's deeper plan, a plan that would transform not only a nation but indeed all of creation through the faith and courage born from this wilderness experience. What awaited them beyond this trial was something magnificent, a covenant not just to be received but to be fulfilled, greater than they could ever have imagined. And it came to pass, as the years flowed onward like the desert sands, that a new generation of Israelites emerged, their hearts shaped by the trials of their ancestors. Miriam, having received the forgiveness and restoration of the Lord, grew in wisdom and understanding, her spirit enriched by the lessons learned amidst the barren wilderness. She shared her story with the younger women, teaching them the virtues of humility, respect for God's leaders, and the importance of faith. As the people traveled through the unyielding expanse, they encountered many struggles, yet within these hardships, the foundations of their faith were laid anew. They learned to seek the Lord with earnest hearts and waited expectantly for his guidance. Each morning, as the heavens poured out the dew of his provision, and the heavenly bread descended upon the ground, they gathered with hope and gratitude. The lesson of reliance upon God became their life's rhythm, an anthem echoing in hearts that had once been ensnared by doubt. One day, while the people encamped at Kadesh, the Lord commanded Moses again, saying, "You are to speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will yield its water," a divine directive that would fulfill both a need and a wondrous sign, a reminder of his unfailing provision. Yet, overwhelmed by the frustrations of the past, Moses, in an impulsive moment, struck the rock instead of speaking to it. The water gushed forth, satiating the thirst of the people, but Moses' heart bore the weight of disobedience. "Because you did not believe me, to hallow me in the eyes of the children of Israel," the Lord spoke, "you shall not bring this assembly into the land which I have given them." That heavy moment fell upon Moses, burdened by the understanding that amidst God's ultimate grace, consequences yet remained. How bittersweet it was to lead the people so far, yet not taste the fruit of the promise. The sorrow in his heart resonated with the people, teaching them that even the faithful servant must remain steadfast in obedience. As the years turned to a close, a profound shift stirred among the Israelites. With every trial they faced, a deeper understanding of faith emerged, weaving them into a community wholly reliant on the one true God. As they neared the borders of the Promised Land, the mantle of leadership transitioned from Moses to Joshua, the son of Nun, who was characterized by unwavering courage and faithfulness. Miriam, having matured into a reverent elder, recognized the significance of this moment. She gathered the women and the children, instilling within them the strength of faith that had been forged in the crucible of adversity. Joshua, aware of the weight of his new responsibilities, sought the counsel of the elders. United in heart and purpose, they prepared for the glorious inheritance that awaited them. "Be strong and of good courage," Miriam encouraged, her voice trembling with the weight of shared history. "The Lord has promised us this land, and his words shall not fail. Trust in his faithfulness. He has led us through the wilderness, and he shall lead us into the promise." And so it was that they crossed the Jordan River, the waters parting as a testament to God's enduring faithfulness. The people stepped forward into their inheritance, a land flowing with milk and honey, a culmination of divine promise. Together, they raised their voices, echoing the songs once sung by Miriam, but now woven with layers of collective victory and profound understanding. And herein lies the purpose of their journey, not merely to inherit land, but to be shaped into a people who would carry the light of God's covenant throughout generations. Each heart, having been tempered in the fires of trial, now burned brightly with the knowledge of his unchanging character, a legacy of faith and trust that would echo through the annals of time. As the sun set on the horizon of their new dawn, Miriam lifted her voice to worship, her heart rejoicing in the fulfillment of God's promises. For his mercy endures forever. She sang, and all of Israel joined her in celebration, the sound resounding like a gentle wind across the valleys, affirming the faithfulness of their God, a promise fulfilled, a covenant renewed. The journey had not been in vain, it was a prelude to the greater story of redemption, weaving through the tapestry of time, where God's sovereign hand continued to unfold his magnificent plan. Now, beloved, as you reflect on this remarkable journey of Miriam and the Israelites, let it inspire your own. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word and to hear more powerful biblical stories that can transform your life. Leave a like now to help spread God's truth through the algorithm, ensuring that more souls may encounter His love and mercy. Comment your thoughts and spiritual reflections on how this story has impacted your faith journey. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear about God's faithfulness today. Don't wait even one more second. Be the light that guides others toward the hope found in Christ. Together, let us proclaim the goodness of the Lord and unite in the mission to bring His truth to the world.